Good evening, everyone.
Fuller
Than normal house out there, not as full as it's been recently. Today is May 23rd, and Tracy, could you please call roll?
Bermal,
Here.
Harrington, Siddig,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Wason.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. Embedded in item number 4, items F and G are going to come off of the consent agenda. I'll say it again when we get there, but otherwise there are no changes. I have a motion for approval, please.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, my voice didn't carry. Item 4 then is our consent agenda, and these are the items I was referring to. Everything on here is the same except items F and G are going to be removed. Are there any things that you guys want to take off of here to discuss individually? Okay, I have a motion for approval, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is time for public comment. Public comment is for anyone to bring an item to council's attention that's not already on the agenda. And I do know that we have one out there. So now is the time.
Hello, thank you all. This is Kayla Rome with the North Liberty Community Pantry. I wanted to formally inform you all that I will be leaving the North Liberty Community Pantry in June. I know the word has gotten out, but I really just want to express my sincere gratitude for all of your support, for everything that you guys have done to both fund, but also spread the word about the needs in our community and support not just our organization in the pantry, but also the citizens of North Liberty. We are extremely grateful, and I really hope that support continues. I also wanted to introduce you to, you can come on up, to Leslie Alvarez. She is our community resource coordinator who will also be taking interim director roles until we secure a new executive director position. So she is available for any feedback or comments. She will also be completing our social service application. So she'll be presenting on that day. And then I also wanted to invite you to my final day at the pantry reception as well. So I've got these to pass out. Should I pass?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's on the road, Tracy.
Yeah, and I'll just pass them all down.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really just couldn't do what we do without all of your support, and our record numbers this year have really been proof that we rely on this community to help support our neighbors in need, and really with the additional ARPA funding that you guys have given us and all of the different projects that you have funded throughout the years has made a huge impact in serving over 800 families is what we're at right now. And we're definitely on track to give out over 1 million pounds or 500,000 pounds of food this year. And we're just so grateful. And I just want to express my gratitude to all of you.
Kayla, we'll talk to you more in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank
Leslie,
you.
we look forward to working with you as well. Is there anyone else that has comments for council that's not already on the agenda tonight? All right, I will close public comment. Item 6 is our engineer report. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, updates. I have updates on the following projects. Dubuque Street Phase 1, the punch list has been completed. And we'll have a final change order and final pay app probably on the next city council meeting. That'll close out that project. City Hall, that's going well. The site contractor, he's focusing on the police station parking lot area and the main parking lot area. So that's coming along nicely. And then the building itself, they're working on the interior wall framing and then rough-ins for electrical and plumbing. And brick installation is planned for a couple weeks out yet, but that'll be pretty cool when they start on the brick. Jones Boulevard extension, that one punch list has also been completed, and it'll probably be next meeting where you'll see the final pay app for that project. The library project, the acoustical panels and circulation desk, that one's also completed. So we've got 3 projects ready to close, and new projects, the Rancho Paved Shoulder project. We had a pre-install meeting with LL Pelling this week, and they confirmed that they're still planning on starting work Tuesday after Memorial Day. And they're planning on roughly a week duration for construction. So this will be a flagger and pilot car operation, last about a week. And then the streets department's going to have a messaging board up in that location on the corridor starting, I think, on Thursday, just to kind of warn motorists who normally drive that route about the upcoming work. The only hiccup could be the pavement markings, which they still don't have a date because the epoxy pavement marking people are way behind this year. So we'll still be able to drive on it, but we won't have the final pavement markings until that is installed. Penn Meadows Park North Parking Lot Project. So that project has been issued for bids, and tonight's the public hearing. The engineer's bid cost opinion is $1.6 million, and then the total project cost opinion is about $1.85 million. So bid opening is June 7th for your consideration at the June 13th City Council meeting. And right now the plan for construction is starting sometime in July through
Excuse me.
November with seeding in 2024 spring. Two more. West Penn Street construction. We made a 50% complete submittal and had the staff review meeting last week. That went well. And right now we're going to be working on there are some acquisitions and easements needed for that project. So that's what we're focusing on right now. And it's still planned for the 2024 spring construction start. And then lastly, Centennial Park next stage. And we have Natalie Opedal. She's the lead architect, and Jen Hoffman is the project manager, both from Chi Battery here tonight. And they'll give you a short presentation and discuss the proposed phasing for the park. That's all I've got tonight, unless you have questions. My final report.
It was a doozy of a list to leave us with, Kevin. You still have some things to complete on there, so can you stick around? Okay.
They're all done. Hey.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for Kevin?
Will there be any?
I'm not taking questions tonight.
Yeah, what are we going to do to him?
Will there be any temporary markings on Rancho Way until the permanent ones are put in? No.
We'll have the existing ones, some of those still in place. Actually, they'll all still be in place. The only ones that'll be missing are the edge lines, and I'm guessing they'll probably have cones kind of by the edge of the road, so it's not too much of a concern. Okay. And depending on how long it takes, well, we may authorize them to put down the temporary painted pavement markings until they can be done.
Any other tougher questions for Kevin?
Mary, nobody's going to be able to drive through this town on streets, on roads, on projects, being at parks that Kevin hasn't touched. And your legacy will live on here for a very long time. You've touched so many things, not just constructually, but also the leadership team within the city. And your professionalism is very much appreciated. It's been a joy getting to know you and knowing, it's really easy to come up here and approve the things that you had your watch over because you were looking out for what was best for the citizens in North Liberty, and certainly appreciate your time here.
Thank you. That's very kind.
And before anybody else goes on, we have some time reserved for that as well. So you can add more to it if you'd like to, Counselor. Anything else? Okay. Ryan?
Okay, thank you. Just a couple things from me tonight. First, looking ahead to that second meeting in June, we will have the social service groups here presenting, so plan for a little longer meeting. I think, if I recall, we may even start that meeting a little earlier to move that, or to be able to have time for that. And then we're also planning to have a UTV ordinance first reading on the agenda, similar to what we talked about a few weeks ago with the UTV club. And then lastly, the mayor and I will not be here for the June 13th meeting. We're going to be in DC on Tuesday and Wednesday. The airport is hosting a legislative event out there on Tuesday evening. And then the mayor and I have, at this point, 2 meetings set up individually with our senators, and hoping to get some time with Representative Miller Meeks as well. To talk about the Forever Green Road project, East Extension, which we've received some federal money for already, $2.5 million, but we're going to need more. So we're going to make that pitch. And then we want to make them aware of the Centennial Park Next Phase project. You might recall we've applied for some federal funding for that project. That did not come through. However, We've exchanged multiple emails with someone in Miller Meek's office, a staffer who's been pointing out other potential options. So again, just keeping those doors open and lines of communication open so that we can take advantage, hopefully, of some federal funding for both of those projects. And that's what I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Ryan? All right. Item 8 is our mayor's report, and I'm going to start with a proclamation. Seems like just a couple of months ago we made this proclamation, and it was an odd anniversary. It's our National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas every day more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 17,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas Iowa has 323 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 10 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $4.2 billion each year, of which $53 million is paid by taxpayers. Iowa has the 41st highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S., and whereas gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities, and whereas cities across the nation, including in North Liberty, are working to end senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, and whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens go hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories, and whereas mayors and law enforcement officers, in partnership with local violence intervention activists and resources, know their communities best, are the most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. And whereas gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see an increase in firearm homicides and non-fatal shootings across the country, increased calls to domestic violence hotlines, and an increase in city gun violence. Whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15, and on June 2nd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to, number one, Hadia Pendleton and the other victims of gun violence, and two, the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, they chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods. And orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd, the first Friday in June in 2023, to help raise awareness about gun violence. And whereas by wearing orange on June 22nd, 2023, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the hands of people who should not have access to them and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our families and communities safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chris Hoffman, Mayor of North Liberty, do hereby proclaim the first Friday in June 22nd, 2023, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of North Liberty, and I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. And I had an opportunity to talk to our chief about this, wanted to run it past her, and she says that we have, there has been a violence intervention specialist. An offer has been made to that individual here in the county. So we are actively working to be in front of this as well. Laura, you have some members here to receive this and some comments, I understand.
As you stated, I was here last year, almost a year ago, on May 24th, 2022, to accept the National Gun Violence Awareness Day proclamation. That was a devastating day. We lost 19 students and 2 teachers to gun violence at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. Unfortunately, the epidemic of gun violence continues. Through the end of April 2023, there have been 185 mass shootings in the United States, with over 250 dead and 700 wounded. But as incidents of gun violence have grown, so too has the movement to stop it. We continue to educate, raise awareness, organize, advocate, and rally for safer communities. This year, we invite everyone to wear orange on June 2nd, 2023, National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Wear Orange originated in 2015 on what would have been Hadiya Pendleton's 18th birthday. It began with teenagers in Chicago who wanted to honor their friend after she had been shot and killed. Today, Wear Orange honors Hadiya and the more than 120 victims of gun violence every day in the United States, as well as the hundreds more who are wounded and the countless others who witness acts of gun violence. According to Everytown, in an average year in the state of Iowa, 323 people die by guns. 79% of those gun deaths are by firearm suicide. The rate of gun deaths in Iowa has increased 59% from 2012 to 2021, compared to 39% nationwide. So our state is outpacing the nation by 20%. These are sobering statistics, and we will continue to support projects focused on reducing gun violence, including suicide by firearm, by improving the environments where gun violence takes place. Please join us on June 2nd to remember the victims of gun violence, especially those here in Iowa. We wear orange to show that we value each person's life and honor those killed, wounded, or impacted by gun violence, and to call for the end of this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Is there any photo op that you guys want to take? I don't have that proclamation, as I mentioned. Yeah? Let's do that? Okay. Right, you guys go into duck and cover mode? Is that what I understand?
They just all like scurry.
Circle around the red dot. This is the center of the center.
LCD's getting there.
Trying to photobomb.
Anybody get in it? Stay up.
Kevin tried to.
Kevin tried.
Try.
Try. Sounds good. All right, I got a bunch of things on my calendar to just remind people of. This is kind of a day and a couple of weeks in the life of me. Last Wednesday, I had an opportunity to participate in, Nick, maybe the first annual Spokes and Scoops. We'll see. I don't know. We had about 80 bicyclists, though, that did this trail, and Nick almost ran out of ice cream cards to give away. So we had a lot of turnout for that. And I had an opportunity to play in the North Liberty Pantries golf outing, and Kayla just said that they raised over $40,000 for that a couple of weeks ago as well. This Friday, as a reminder, is the monthly Housing Trust Fund of Johnson County's monthly meeting at noon over Zoom. I know, Eric, you're usually pretty good about hitting that. On the 31st, the last Wednesday of the month, the MPO meeting will happen in Coralville at 4:30. The day after that, June 1st, the Free Medical Clinic will be celebrating their 50th anniversary from 5:30 until 7. A couple of days later than that, on Saturday, June 3rd, the second annual Let Love Fly event will happen at Centennial Park from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. And Kayla's reception the following Wednesday, 5:30 until 7. All right. We do have some other things to talk about here tonight. And Kevin, now we can drone on you. Okay? We're going to drone on you. If my phone won't ring anymore. I take no responsibility for this, but hold it up.
That's awesome. That's pretty
Like
cool.
that.
I don't know if it works and how much dirt you can dig with it. I'm going to set it right here for a moment. And I'll say, Kevin Traum, in appreciation of more than 2 decades building North Liberty, thank you from the city of North Liberty. I will sit back down, but I also have some things to read. It's my honor and pleasure, but it's also with extreme sadness that I get to congratulate you on these 25 years here with the city. The word service to our city kind of sounds sterile and uninteresting. But to have shared in over 15 years of those experiences with you, I know that we have had anything but sterile and uninteresting meetings over that time. I know firsthand the difference that your presence has made in the lives of nearly every resident and business in this city. Your professionalism, your demeanor, and your crazy unflappable approach to supporting this growth. You say yes and you go out and do it. And when you're criticized, you just provide the facts. That has been a source of much needed consistency during my time on this council. I've been witness to your patience and your guidance as you and your team took on project after project. And because of your attention to detail, I grew to trust, as others have said already, and to appreciate the results that you've provided time and again. I was also fortunate to get to know you away from council meetings, and I will miss our chats walking into council meetings when we discuss electric vehicles or the golf courses that you just recently played, which I will continue to be envious of and try to check off that list. Retirement seems like an unlikely endeavor for you, though, but if it means seeing the world a bit more, playing more golf, or spending time with your family, then I will just have to believe it as fact. Thank you. It seems inadequate when it comes to the legacy that you'll leave us in this city. And congratulations on a very successful career, and best wishes to you and your family in the years to come. We're going to miss you, man. We'll come up to the red dot, and everybody don't photobomb this one. Do you want to come up also?
Do you?
Yes. Brent, are you dressed for it?
I am underdressed tonight.
Underdressed for it. I was instructed not to kick it also.
It doesn't come up, does it?
Gather around, everybody.
It's off.
One of those where it falls.
Everybody? Please do. Oh, wait, we got it.
We gotta post this at on the Shy Battery.
Setting the bar high for all the other cities.
Yeah, very professional.
It doesn't come off, so.
Shifters in there that you can.
All right, I will now turn it over to anybody else that has parting shots or questions for Kevin.
Well, does this mean there'll be less orange cones in the city the next 20 years?
Might be.
Okay, we know Kevin as the orange cones. That was always the criticism. When do the cones go away? Soon, he would say. Very soon.
Yeah.
It does depend on weather. You're right.
So, and just, we'll always think of you when we think about underground detention ponds.
Trendsetter.
Well, I will say, I think I probably first met Kevin in 2003 when I started on the Planning and Zoning Commission, is my guess. And I've had the pleasure of working with Kevin as a city official and professionally, and I can attest in my professional experience, he's also, I mean, what he's done for North Liberty is what he does for everyone, and he's I think unique to some extent in that way. He's an excellent engineer and great to work with. So, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah. I started preparing some notes, much like the mayor, and then I realized I was still mad at you. So I wasn't going to finish it because
That last change order?
I'm still in denial of this. We are going to miss you. And Brent said, your fingerprints, your shadow is all over everything in North Liberty. And a couple of the things, well, a story I'll share is I've met with a couple of the office managers over the years and would do post-project reviews with Kevin or others. And the message that I always shared was that the city's committed to Shive Hattery because of Kevin Traum. Kevin and his crew perform on time, on budget, When something goes wrong, they're there to fix it or say, hey, we messed up, we will fix it. If it rarely happened when they messed up, but when it did, they took ownership of it. And it's something you just don't see all the time. And he's done a nice job of sharing that message. And we have folks like Josiah, who's here tonight, and Mike Janishek, and Jennifer and Natalie, all who share that same concept, that same passion. And I truly believe that it's been Kevin for the last 20 plus years pushing that message down. One other thing I would share that I really appreciated, and I'm sharing this, one, to acknowledge Kevin, but two, to make sure Josiah understands the expectations as we move forward. There were a couple projects, some of them more recently, that kind of just came up out of the blue because of a development or a project. I think of Kansas Avenue and the work we did with the RISE grant on there and getting that in, and Jones Boulevard most recently. And I would call Kevin on the phone. I'd say, hey, this is what's going on. We need to move on this quick. And there'd be just a little bit of silence, as usual with Kevin. He'd say, okay, we'll make it happen. And sure enough, they made it happen. So, Josiah, take note, please. Kevin, thank you. It really has been an honor to work with you, to get to know you, and I certainly value your friendship as well. So, best wishes, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. They're very nice words from all of you. I've loved it. Worked my experience with North Liberty. I also want to give a public thank you to Derek Blackman and the communications department for that really cool video that he edited carefully, because I'm sure you had to edit it a lot, but that's so nice to have. I was able to show it to my mom and my family, and because 25 years, they didn't know what I did. I said, wow, really? That's kind of cool. That was very nice. So thank you very much. I won't be gone. I'm still going to be an employee for a few months till the end of the year, for sure. I'll be coming to the office occasionally, and I'll be available by phone. I want to support Josiah as much as possible in the transition. I know he's going to do a great job, and he's got the support of people like Jen and Natalie and lots of other people. So I don't think you're going to see much of a change in the amount of service you get. So anyway, just thank you for everything. And this is awesome.
Thank you as well, Kevin. You still have to stay here until this meeting's over, though.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That was that's all I had finally here tonight, you guys. I'll turn it over to you. What's been on your calendars? What's coming up on your calendars? What's going on in your lives as counselors for us in the city? Seeing none, I'll move. You're.
Yeah, of course. I'll be brief. I stopped at the Iowa Nonprofit Alliance launch event last week, and I think that's going to be an interesting organization to watch grow, and something that the city should keep an eye on. I also stopped by the Spokes and Scoops afterwards, and that was great to see all the people out here. V Fix Monroe Rise is putting together a manufactured housing kind of work group or something. And the first meeting of that is going to be Thursday afternoon. I plan to attend, and I'm not sure there's actually an Affordable Housing Coalition meeting on Friday. But
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep.
So Mayor Ryan double booked us. So there was Spokes of Scoops, and then there was the ability to go out to the fire department's burn area. And of course, I really like ice cream. But
You like fire more.
But I like fire more.
Yeah.
So I did go out and see their new facility and participate in that. So appreciate the crews let me hang around, and it was good. It's for the cost, for the little cost for the search containers as well as the burn container, they're getting a lot for the money that was put into that. So appreciate that.
And then I stopped by the Remarkable Rigs A lot of people had fun with that. Lots of little kids enjoyed it. And when I was actually walking to the parking lot, there were a lot of adults just walking to go see these big trucks as well with no little kids. So I think it was a good time by all. So
Awesome. Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Item 10. We are going to have a presentation from Jen and Natalie, but first, Ryan would like to say a few words on behalf of our sponsor.
Yes, Shive Hattery could be our sponsor.
There we go. Oh, that is naming rights, Nick?
Yeah.
I think we're onto something here.
Well, you have, we've talked about this obviously numerous times before, and I went back today and looked to get to remind myself of the dates. And it was August of 22. We brought back, Shive presented the revised Parks Plan proposal for Centennial. And at that point, the project budget was estimated at about 16.3 million, and we were just ready to submit, or getting ready to submit, a Destination Iowa grant that we thought would cover, we were hoping would cover 25% of eligible costs. As you all know, that didn't happen. There were no Johnson County projects funded by the Destination Iowa program. So we got back together with the team and talked about how we could phase this project to make it a little bit more manageable without this grant. And so what you'll hear tonight from the Shive team is what we're proposing in terms of phasing, with the first phase being the Centennial Center and Stage with an $8.8 million budget. Also in the packet, in addition to their presentation, actually was part of the memo I included in there, I outlined the proposed budget, which includes various funding sources, including the potential of an Enhance Iowa grant. This is a program we're very familiar with. It used to be called the CAT program, and it's something we've had success with in the past. There's a local person on that decision-making board. We think the project will score well, and we think we'll have an opportunity for some funding there. In addition, we're proposing the use of franchise fees, ARPA funding, and then we are out fundraising, selling naming rights, and then eventually would need to borrow for the number in there is $3.5 million of this $8.8 million project. So there'll need to be additional discussion in terms of funding down the road. Obviously, one of them is going to be the franchise fee and whether or not this group wants to consider increasing that fee. I'm hoping to have that discussion a little bit later this summer, and I won't digress too much, but we just got an email last week from the league that they've got some information out on how the new tax legislation will impact cities. And so my hope is to visit with you all about what the legislation could do to our existing budgets, and two, what other potential revenue sources are out there, like the franchise fee, other tax levies that we're not using, and just the local option sales tax and a few other potential options, just so you can see what, not specific for this project, just in general, so you can see what potential revenues there are for the city moving forward. At that point, we'll talk a little bit about franchise fees as well. I think tonight what we're looking for is approval to move ahead with design of this facility, so that when we are talking to potential donors, potential naming right opportunities, and other grants, we can let them know that we're moving ahead with design. So I'll leave it at that and turn it over to the Shive folks to talk a little bit about the phasing part of it.
All
right, thanks. As Ryan said, we worked with a number of city staff. We worked with Ryan, Tracy, Russ, Nick, and Guy, and trying to work out what would be included and how many phases we could break down the master plan into. So tonight we just want to kind of touch on what the different phases are going to consist of, and then go a little further into depth as far as what phase one would be. So we are essentially looking at 4 phases in order to accomplish everything within the park. Phase one would consist of basically kind of the central node or the central piece to the puzzle. The Centennial Center itself. So this is the large event center that also offers the exterior stage as well as exterior restroom access that is currently missing in the park. Along with this phase, we would also be bringing in and upgrading the utilities that kind of set the stage for the other 3 phases of the project. So as far as like power, sewer, water lines, things like that. Phase 2 includes the splash pad and the accompanying shelter that's directly adjacent to it, some additional exterior restrooms that can be accessed. There's also some ADA playground space that would be expanded there, as well as additional parking along that east side of the loop road. Phase 3 would then incorporate the large pavilion space that would be open air, and the additional paving that could then be included with that. In this phase, we've also included basically some extension of power and lighting to the southern side of the Loop Road area of the park. Once we get into phase 4, we are incorporating the honor gardens as well as the open air pavilion that goes along with those, and the little bit of an extension to that northern parking lot area. So phases 2 through 4 can be done in any order, really. Like we said, with phase 1, it kind of gets that infrastructure up and ready for phases 2 through 4 to kick off. Jen's going to talk a little bit more about our schedule as far as moving into design and what we can expect as far as design and through construction.
Yes, so in terms of the schedule, we're ready to just get rolling on that and get our programming finalized, work through some of the details of that, and then hit the ground running with design and continue that through this year into next year, with the goal of issuing that in the spring for bid, and then having a contractor on board by, say, mid-May. And then you'll notice we've shown July as the start for construction. And the thought behind that and the driver of that is that some of the lead items of critical things like transformers and electrical gear for sites continue to be 55, 60 weeks. So you're over a year in your time frame of when you start to when you would be able to open a building. So if we start in July and we start, say, after Blues and Barbecue, then we're guaranteed to only miss possibly one Blues and Barbecue, or maybe even just still have Blues and Barbecue, but have it modified in 2026, if that makes sense. So the thought was to do that versus starting earlier, not having Blues and Barbecue, and then still possibly, depending on how that all times out, missing maybe 2 of those seasons or those events. So the idea would be then that September of 2025, we'd be substantially complete, and then you'd be moving in furniture and could start hosting events hopefully later in the fall. And I think that also helps in terms of just figuring out the building systems, AV, working through all those little hiccups that will happen so that by that next spring and summer, you're all ready to go for flawless events. So, and then like we've talked about, 8.8 million is phase 1. Phase 2, to give you a sense for how those break down, phase 2 is a little over 3 million. Phase 3 is 3.5 million, and phase 4 looks to be just under $1 million at this point. So, does anyone? I think that's. Oh, we had one more, didn't we? There we go. All the pretty pictures for phase 1. Anybody have any questions for Natalie?
Can you tell us what Blues and Barbecue 2025 might look like? Would we be able to use the stage? I would assume we probably could. Could part of this
You mean
facility?
2026 if we start construction? Or yeah, that's right.
It would be
I was doing the right year
Yeah.
or wrong year. I think we're going to need to work through that, but I mean, I think we want to work through that and see what that looks like. I mean, the building proper should be,
Mhm.
enclosed, and a lot of the work's really just going to be more on the inside. So I think we're going to explore some ways and work with staff and work with some of our contractor resources to see could the site be substantially complete in time to just let that happen. But I think we need to delve into that a little bit further.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the biggest concerns is actually the electrical switchgear, and so that's what we're seeing like
Right.
60-week lead times on. And so if we don't have the primary electrical for the building, then we're probably not going to be able to have access to the speakers and lights and things like that.
Gotcha.
You may have a stage, but you may not have all of the other components that go with it. So
Gotcha.
there may be some rental pieces that you still have to do in that 25.
Okay.
Yep.
You guys have any questions for Jen or Natalie?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mind if I say a couple?
Please do.
I just would invite you, if you had any questions for Nick or Jillian, they're both here as well, and of course are an instrumental part of this discussion, as well as Blues and Barbecue questions if you have those. So I would just acknowledge that they're here if you have questions.
Do you guys have anything to add to this discussion that we might already know about? I mean, we seem to be pretty well informed, but is there anything that you'd add to this conversation tonight?
I don't have anything of substance, just that it's an exciting project. We're excited to move ahead with it. Figuring out what Blues and Barbecue looks like on the other side is an exciting challenge. I share, I think breaking ground next year would be an amazing thing to do at Blues and Barbecue or in its immediate aftermath, and then explore what we could get done in that following year, whether that's Blues and Barbecue proper or a grand opening celebration that takes a different form with Blues and Barbecue returning in full force the following year.
And if I could just add just a thank you to Shive for phasing out this plan and working through that with us, meeting with businesses about naming rights and just hearing from the public as we've held info sessions or talking to people about giving to our fund. Having a timeline is really helpful, obviously, letting people understand when they could expect a Centennial Center, when they could expect a splash pad, especially a splash pad, which a lot of residents are excited about. And so formalizing a phased plan will be extremely helpful to our fundraising efforts.
Real quick, Jillian, so can you confirm next year for Blues and Barbecue and the following year, we're not quite sure where we're going to have Blues and Barbecue with the construction going on? Or
So next year, so this summer, normal. Summer of 2024, the plan that Shive is proposing would be that Blues and Barbecue would happen as normal. And that even if there was some small work happening with maybe electrical that was behind the scenes or preparing some site stuff, it wouldn't be disturbing the ground or affecting Blues and Barbecue 2024. We would do the dirt moving later in July of 24.
and 25 would just be potentially rental.
Yeah,
equipment.
hopefully the biggest thing that I would see that would affect Guy Goldsmith and all of us would be people parking on the grass, but hopefully wouldn't be tearing up the back half where people are parking. If we had a stage, that would already be a huge cost saver to us, just not erecting a stage, even if we were still bringing in all the power. We're bringing all of that in right now anyway. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Mayor, a few questions. So, phase one here, I see the sidewalk go to the north to the parking area. I'm guessing that has some to do with ADA access with phase one, correct?
Come on, yeah, please.
So that north connection, One is ADA access for people parking and entering into, or like walking up to the center. The other component that goes along with that is actually the fire truck access to get to the building so that they can be close enough to put out any sort of emergency or anything like that. That would also serve as potential catering van or like rental delivery trucks, things like that. So that would be a potential like drivable access for those types of vehicles.
So that's road construction. That's not a sidewalk.
Well, it'll be it'll be reinforced sidewalk. I mean, we're still going to call it a trail.
Okay.
But I believe the magic number is 75,000 pounds is what I often hear the chief say is required.
Okay.
So,
And then,
but yeah, that's a good point. It'd be restricted access.
yeah. So we would have, so to my point, we would have 80 access. Even so, with the current trail in there, do we have, what's the current ADA access for Blues this year? Because I know we struggle with that because it's grass and we're parking.
Yeah, we struggle with it because we don't have hard surface. So that's something that we're still working through a little bit to get folks as close as possible.
Yeah.
That hard surface lot used to be a really great place to have folks who had mobility issues.
Yeah.
But since we made that flip, that actually means that hard surface is a little bit longer. So we're still working through some of our better options.
Yep.
We just don't have particularly good ADA access.
Parking would be the next question. So is phase one, with phase one's completion and not having that addition of phase two or phase four parking, are we still in the same boat where we're having to throw a chip trail down and park people in the mud? Yeah. How many parking spots are we adding with phase two and phase four? That's okay, and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I think regardless of what we add for parking in this project for Blues and Barbecue, we're still going to be parking in the grass.
Yes, exactly.
The thought process here is that the existing parking meets the requirements for the Centennial Center.
Yep.
The reason the additional parking is added on the east side of the park is specifically for that splash pad.
Okay.
So that's why it's in that phase. The smaller addition to the larger lot is, icing on the cake, and will certainly be used on Blues and Barbecue Day. But none of this will prevent us from having either to transport people in or park somewhere else in the grass. So Guy is always going to get to deal with that.
And then as we start talking about this size of a budget, obviously we have to look at the other revenue sources. I get that, but what will this do to the comprehensive plan for the other parks in town, including the park that we are eyeing to add off of Jones?
Yeah, so we have funding. I'll use the term planned for in the long range plan. It's not, wouldn't call it allocated. We haven't borrowed it, but it's shown in the model. And I think with this, I'll call smaller amount from a borrowing standpoint, it's a little bit easier to bite off than a larger amount. I think the challenge or the plan for what we're calling the North Side Park. And Guy and I were just talking about this the other day. I think we have 5 years before we would have to do anything. If we go through a condemnation, we have 5 years before we have to do anything. And I think it'd be all of that 5 years because we want to make this a priority, I think, and get this one done. The intent of acting on that particular property now is so that it doesn't slip away in the future for other development. The North Side Park I'm talking about.
Any other questions right now? Counselor Yori?
How many FTEs are we looking at having to add for this park?
Well, we have one included in the FY24 budget starting later. That's the person that would be in the communications department managing the facility.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we're not planning on additional park staff specifically for this.
So upkeep of the splash pad and the building.
Well, that splash pad will be coming later.
Okay.
So we'll have to reevaluate it at that time. But right now, with new buildings that come on, for example, PD and City Hall comes in. The current City Hall has it now. We hire outside cleaning crews, so we're not bringing on full-time people. We'll have maintenance contracts, much like we do now for HVAC and those types of things. That's not to say guys not going to get a call when we're troubleshooting. But hopefully the plan is that we'll have outside vendors helping with that.
Be a little less mowing. There is that.
All right, can we move on to item B then, which is resolution number 2023-53. And this is a resolution approving the services agreement between the City of North Liberty and Shive Hattery, Inc. for Centennial Park Next Stage Phase 1 project. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other questions about this agreement? All right. Seeing none, Tracy, could I have a roll call, please?
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11 is the Big O Foundation naming rights, and item A is resolution number 2023-54. And this is a resolution approving the naming rights agreement between the City of North Liberty and the Big O Foundation for the Babe Ruth Field at Penn Meadows Park. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There was a question that was asked earlier. Answered. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
I don't have really a question. I just wanted to make just a little comment
Please do.
that I've got some emails that people thought this was not necessarily a good idea because it may be problematic with other youngsters doing things. I talked to mental health professionals that deal with adolescents. He said that is not anything they would expect. So, but people were concerned about that, so I did check on that. Secondly, I don't look at this as something that we're going to just do every time something happens. I'm looking to this as the city making an effort to take the work of some people who want to make something good come out of something bad. And that's what we're working on here. And that's what people should think about that when they talk about all this. We're just trying to, give, people resources to help them so that something else doesn't happen, that another tragedy. So just want people to make sure that they're clear on that. And that's why we're doing this.
I think on the flip side there too, Brian, and you're absolutely right. Years of not talking about it, where did we end up? And how many children have we lost in our communities because of suicide? Because we were too afraid to talk about it. So there's either not talk about it, and these kids feel like there's no place to turn, or we fly in the face of it, we talk about it, we give resources, and we support those that need our help, similar to those in need that show up the food pantry. I see it very similarly. There are folks that are in need that suffer silently, and I'm glad that the city is reaching a hand out here to try something new, something different, and help those that are suffering silently.
Joe, Jennifer, I don't have anything for you guys to come up. I would like to get this passed, but if you wouldn't mind providing an update to us on what you've been up to the last couple of weeks and what that field got to do in just a moment. Just rest easy for a second. Could I have a motion, or could I have a roll call, please, Tracy, on this resolution?
Wason,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Thank you. Joe, I think you have a pretty unique story to tell, and what has that field been able to do so far just in the past couple of weeks?
The whole point of that field, or to name it after Owens Skelly Field, is to put up signage and the QR codes and remind people that suicide, what my son chose, is not the right option, and it's not even it's not an option. What I've learned, and I don't believe everything on the internet, but I've done a lot of research, and 25% of our population, 1 out of every 4, is struggling with some degree of mental health. I never gave it much attention in the past. If somebody was to ask me, do I want to go listen to a mental health speaker, I would have politely declined, because I would have thought, no, everybody in my family and all my friends that I know of are fine. I don't need any training or anything to remind me or to help me out to assist anybody else. But the worst and scariest thing happened to us, and what we've learned since is there's a lot of people that are struggling. And I also, this is just my opinion, but the increase of social media and the detachment of the intimacy, talking across the table and getting to know people, that I would venture to say that chart of increasing disconnect is right in line with mental health, and it's getting worse. This field, last week, when the weather kind of cooperated, but either way, it brought people together, and it was a good first time, and we learned from it. We had a lot of compliments about over the seating, the shaded, I call it roof, but it's not a roof, but that keeps the shade out or keeps the sun out and keeps the rain out. People are complimenting that. The cleanliness. I heard some people talking about how nice the bathrooms are. He said he did a nice job with all that planning and what y'all did. But the ultimate goal is, it's not a memorial for my son. It's for people to drive by, to people to run, walk their dog, to join each other in the stands, or whether they're playing in the field, and just know that we're all in it together. And victories are very seldomly won alone, and you got to reach out and talk and be there for each other. That's pretty good for not having anything written out and planned for me, by the way. So, but we appreciate y'all's support, and we will do everything we can to make y'all proud for your yes vote.
You already have, Joe. Thank you. Item 12 is Penn Meadows Park North Parking Lot Project, and item A is a public hearing regarding proposed plans, specifications, and estimate of cost. Is there anyone in the audience that has comments in regards to these plans? This is not just a parking lot. This is pretty cool. Item B, then, I'm going to close the public hearing. Item B is resolution number 2023-55, and this is a resolution finally approving and confirming plans, specifications, and estimate of cost for the Penn Meadows Park North Liberty Parking Lot Project. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. This is quite a plan. Do you guys have any questions, comments about it?
It is quite a plan.
Yes.
Hopefully it helps.
Be awesome. Tracy, can we have a roll call, please?
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 13 is our FY23 budget amendment, and item A is also a public hearing regarding proposed budget amendment. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to make comment on our budget amendment here? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Item B is resolution number 2023-56, and this is a resolution amending the current budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Could I have a motion for consideration?
Moved.
Second.
Any other questions about this? Seeing none, Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 14 is the LL Pelling easement, and item A is resolution number 2023-57, a resolution approving the public easement agreement between LL Pelling Company Incorporated and the city of North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions about this one? Tracy, roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 15 is Liberty View Mall easement, and item A is resolution number 2023-58. And this is a resolution approving the permanent landscape, lighting, traffic signal, and sidewalk easement agreement between Liberty View Mall LLC and the city of North Liberty, Iowa. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second. Any questions?
I was just going to ask if there's any possibility in the future of combining these accesses from LL Pelling and the Liberty View at all. I know there's a lot of issues with trucks getting out onto Penn Street from Pelling, so I didn't know. When I first was looking at this, I thought maybe this was across from Pelling, but it's not. So I was just curious if there's any possibility of that.
I'm not sure I understand. You mean
To consolidate the two
consolidate the
driveways.
two drives?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be pretty major challenge. Pelling has a dry detention pond there that no one realizes. That's part of the problem, and it would be challenging.
Okay.
I
And I
believe
also think originally the access was looked at a little bit further to the east across from LL Pelling, and the traffic consultant had recommended, because we had a traffic light right at Jones, that it be at that distance.
we allowed the back driveway for Pelling. I don't know if they're using that much off of Jones Boulevard. We
Sure.
allowed that a few years ago to help alleviate some of that, and so that they would have access to a light.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there's still quite a bit of truck traffic there.
Tracy, you got a roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 16 is the Fox Run Trail Project, and item A is resolution number 2023-59. And this is a resolution approving the services agreement between the City of North Liberty and Shive Hattery, Inc. for the Fox Run Pond Trail Improvements Project. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions about that or comments?
Mm-mm.
Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 17 is Forever Green Road Signalization Project, and item A is resolution number 2023-60. And this is a resolution approving the services agreement between the City of North Liberty and Shive Hattery, Inc. for the Forever Green Road Signalization Project. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other questions about this?
Just one question. Is there a lot of pavement work to that, or is it all?
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, the only pavement work is on, well, sidewalks and trails, right at the intersections, and then on Jones Boulevard, we're creating turn lanes for the north and south legs. That's it.
Any other questions?
This is sorely needed.
Yeah. Yes, it will be. Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 18 is Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. And item A is resolution number 2023-61, a resolution setting date for public hearing on Urban Renewal Plan Amendment. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions about this? Tracy, roll call, please.
Sittig,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 19 is Parkland Acquisition, and this is resolution number 2023-62, a resolution relating to the financing of proposed projects to be undertaken by the City of North Liberty, Iowa, establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions about this?
Or what stage are we at in this?
Good question. I talked to Grant this afternoon, and right now we have a date set with the commission, the condemnation commission at the county level for June 28th.
Okay. Is there any movement from the other side to? Okay.
Good question, Eric. Tracy, got a roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Wason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 20 is 2.2 LLC and Vantage Point Properties LLC zoning map amendment. And this is our third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2023-06, an ordinance amending the zoning map district designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from C2A Highway Commercial District to C2A PAD Highway Commercial District Planned Area Development. And could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on this? Tracy, will roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 21 is a zoning code ordinance amendment, and item A is also a third consideration and adoption of ordinance number 2023-11, an ordinance amending Chapter 165 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances regarding preliminary site plan approval standards and access easement requirements for utility and emergency vehicles. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anything on this one? Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next meeting's agenda is already 2 items shorter. Right.
Here we go.
Item 22 is Communications Advisory Commission Ordinance Repeal, and this is our second consideration of ordinance number 2023-12, an ordinance repealing Chapter 25 of the North Liberty Code of Ordinances, Communications Advisory Commission. Could I have a motion for consideration?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on this one?
Mayor, is there any reason to have a third, or can we just move forward with it and not?
We're going to just leave it as it is, give the public an opportunity to provide comment if necessary.
Plus, it's not on the agenda.
We don't have it on the agenda.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
Welcome. Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 23 is city-initiated zoning map amendment on property owned by 160-965 LLC. This is our second consideration of ordinance number 2023-14, an ordinance amending the zoning map designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from I-1 Light Industrial District to C3 Higher Intensity Commercial District. Motion for consideration, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded and thirded. Questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig,
I abstain due to a conflict.
Smith,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Thank you. Motion still carries. Item 24 is city-initiated zoning map amendment on property owned by Mackin Estates, LLC, and this is our second consideration of ordinance number 2023-15, an ordinance amending the zoning map designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from RM21 Multi-Unit Residence District to RM12 Multi-Unit Residence District. Give motion for consideration, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any questions on this one? Tracy, roll call, please.
Wason,
Aye.
Bermal,
Aye.
Sittig,
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 25 is city-initiated zoning map amendment on property owned by Random Commercial Properties, LLC. And this is also a second consideration of ordinance number 2023-16, an ordinance amending the zoning map designation for certain property located in North Liberty from I-1 Light Industrial District to C3 Higher Intensity Commercial District. Could I have a motion for consideration, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Tracy, roll call, please.
Bermal,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Wason,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Motion carries. And finally, item 26 is city-initiated zoning map amendment on property owned by Stephen M. and Deborah B. Carniol. This is our second consideration of ordinance number 2023-17, an ordinance amending the zoning map designation for certain property located in North Liberty, Iowa from I-1 Light Industrial District to C1B Higher Intensity Commercial District. Give consideration for this, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions on that? Tracy, one more time, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Sittig.
Aye.
Bermal.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Russ, you owe us all on this one.
Well, Kevin stole all the thunder.
I know. I know. Item 20C is any old business out there. 28, new business. Yes, sir.
I just say a couple things real quick.
Please do.
Okay. One, I think it's important to point out to maybe those in the audience and those at home, this packet was 275 pages. It's very impressive how much, I mean, you clearly all read this, and we appreciate that at the staff level, but it's a lot of work, so thank you. And second, Joe mentioned earlier that the restrooms at Penn Meadows are looking pretty good. Guy and his team, this will be no surprise, you did all the work within the restrooms and that whole press box area. Very impressive. It looks great. I wish you would have done it 10 years ago when my son was playing at that field, because the bathrooms were not near as nice as they are now. So if you get a chance, try one of those bathrooms. They're very nice. Thank you, Guy.
Let's leave that as our last comment for tonight. Oh, come
Just
on.
one quick thing.
Okay.
So this is EMS week, and so a huge chunk of our fire department calls are actually EMS related, and they're all very well trained for that. So just if you see them, give them a thanks for that.
Much more appropriate ending to the meeting. Thank you. Brian. Hey, could I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you all very much.